Is this a safe place? Is this safe?
Always. Bring the heat.
If I'm the Bengals, I would pick Braden Swinson.
Ooh, okay. I respect the hell out of that.
Yeah, so if he goes top 15, I'll have no issues with it.
The ball is on the 25, and it is 1st and 10. Welcome back to the show. I'm your co-host, Cade. That is your beautiful co-host, Metro. Guys, today we're talking about our big board's top 75 players for the 2025 NFL Draft. It should be a great one. We're going to go 15 players by 15 players all the way down, 5 chunks. Metro, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. We're going to be doing 15 at a time. Won't talk about every single player because if we were, I think we'd probably be here for 3 to 4 hours, and I don't think anyone has the time to do it, nor do we want to. So we'll do a couple hand-picked players that we find interesting, and of course, a lot of these players we've already talked about. So if you want to see us talk about some of these players, we've done mock drafts where we talked about them. We've done top 10 rankings. So if you want more information on specific players, you can drop it in the comments, or you can just check our channel, and we'll make sure to respond to you, or we'll have the content necessary for you. So I started off the last video. We did the running back rankings, and I started us off. So do you want to start us off with your 61 through 75?
Would love to. Let's start with 61. I'm going to go down the list. 61, we got the tight end Mason Taylor. Next, we got the tight end Elijah Arroyo. At 63, we got the tackle Anthony Belton. I'm going to stop saying positions because I'm going to run out of breath. Next, we got Josiah Stewart. Then we have Jack Besh. Next, we have Dylan Sampson. The quarterback, Jackson Dart at 67. The guy I know you just absolutely hate. Next at 68, we have JT Tuimoloau. Lathan Ransom at 69. Tyler Shock at 70. 71, we got Will Howard. 72, we got Kyle Monangai. Whoa, alert. He's way up high. 73, we got Terrence Ferguson. 74, we got Jamari Caldwell. And 75, Jalen Milroe. What's your 61 and 75?
Whew. We are going to have a lot of differences in ours, and I love it. I already know some of the players I'm going to ask you about. All right. 61, I have Jack Betch, so just a few spots away from yours. Josiah Stewart at 62. Ozzie Trapilo at 63, the tackle. Jared Wilson, the center, at 64. Kevin Winston at 65. Alec Ayomaner at 66. Andrew Makuba, 67. Jonah, probably going to mispronounce this, but Savayanea, how do you say that? 68. Alfred Collins, 69. Will Howard, 70. Demetrius Knight Jr., 71. Charles Grant, 72. Scatabo at 73. Jack Sawyer, 74. And Damian Martinez, 75.
Very, very nice.
So you have, how many quarterbacks do you have on this little portion here? 3? 4? 4.
3, maybe 4. Let me count it. I got Dart. I got 4. I got Shock. I got Will Howard and Milroe. They all kind of fall in this range for me. And
do you want to go ahead?
I would say the goal of this, guys, just so you know, I'm going to ask Metro 2 players to kind of explain on, because why he's got them high ranked or higher, lower than me. You get the idea, and then he'll do the same for me so we can hear each other's thoughts on the players that really stand out. But what were you going to say?
I was going to say, do you want to just throw every single quarterback in just one little pile just to quickly kind of talk about them? We don't have to go into who they are because we've already done quarterback rankings, but just why they fell into your top 75?
Yeah, for sure. So with these quarterbacks in Dart, Shock, Will Howard, and Milroe, these guys are all in my B tier. I think they could be impact players. Now, some have to develop, some don't. You have a guy like Will Howard that could probably step in day one and be just fine. Is he winning every game? No, but he can game manage for sure. And then you have guys the polar opposite like Jalen Milroe. The upside is through the roof, and the floor is, I don't know, the core of the earth. He could fall through the earth potentially. We don't know what Jalen Milroe could be, but we do know people can't run like him and people can't throw like him either. So it's lightning in a bottle. Pick your poison. Do you want the floor? Do you want the ceiling? I have all these guys ranked when I equal all that risk analysis out. I have them all ranked here from 61 to 75, and that's just kind of where I saw them. I like the depth in this year's quarterback class. If you want to hear more about quarterbacks, of course, you go check that out on our channel as well, but that is why I have them ranked here. Now, I have a question for you.
All right.
Cam Scatteraboo at 73 after what 73. He did to your Longhorns just feels disrespectful.
Yeah, so I have Scatteraboo on my big board a little bit higher than I do in my running back rankings. And I think that's because in my running back rankings, I'm kind of projecting what I think they'll be at the NFL level. And so, to be honest with you, I consider Scatteraboo completely off my list. But he's on my list for a reason. I like Cam Scatteraboo as a player. Very fun guy. This is somebody you're going to fall in love with. I just don't see him being a 3-down guy. He is a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 guy. He's going to get the tough yardage. Think he could do a lot more than that. It just kind of comes down to I don't think he's a 3-down guy, whereas I think a lot of other running backs that I'm going to have on this list, I do believe are closer to becoming 3-down guys more so than Cam Scatabo. So that's why I have Scatabo at 73. I know people are going to say, oh, well, he torched your Longhorns, and that's why he's at number 73. And in some ways, maybe I am a little bit spiteful about it, okay? Maybe I am. Just kidding, I'm not.
Let him cope.
It's just that, look, even in that Texas game that we all want to talk about, and yes, he was unbelievable down the stretch of that game. Unbelievable. I think we also have to add some context to it. The fact that the Texas Longhorns offense could not move the ball one bit. The defense got tired, and then eventually Cam Scatabo started to weigh on them. Not to mention Cam was pretty terrible for 2.5 quarters. In fact, was awful, was throwing little hissy fits on the sideline. Hook 'em, by the way. We ended up winning that game, and eventually we lost to Ohio State and Will Howard. But, yeah, I still think Cam Scatabo is a great player. If you want to know more, we talked about him in the running back rankings, and I think I might get even more hate for my Scatabo take on there. So I think it's pretty fair of me to say that. But yeah, Scatabo is still on my top 75. I still think he's probably going to get drafted a lot higher than I would personally take him. But I'm not as high on him as I've seen other people have him in like their top 50s, top 40s. I mean, I'm interested to see where you have him at. I'm sure he's a lot higher than where I have him at, but interesting.
He's in the next chunk. I can tell you that.
Okay, yeah. So you're not too high on him, but you are a little bit higher on me or on him than I am. I want to ask you about one of your players.
Hit me.
I got to ask you about some of these defensive linemen. So I'll start off with Jamari Caldwell, who I know from Oregon had a really solid year last year, but kind of got passed up a little bit by Harmon. So, what's your take on Jamari Caldwell?
Jamari Caldwell, when I went to the Senior Bowl back in late January, and you're just kind of sitting there with your notebook, right? You feel like you're trying to be a scout at the same time. You're like, I'm not a scout. But anyways, as a casual watcher, he was the guy that I saw day one, and I'm like, he is quick, he is strong. He's not the biggest guy out here, but he's making a difference every single play and getting in people's faces. I called it out every day until then because people talk like, who do you like? What'd you see here? Because guys they're shooting the shit. That's what we're here for. We all love the game. And Jamar Caldwell was always making noise, doing his thing, really quick feet for a nose tackle. Pretty damn good pursuit, too. He's got shorter arms. That's his big kicker, okay? The ceiling's only so high. But I love the value you get in him. He's good in the run defense. He's got an 81 grade on PFF. A pretty damn good pass rush win rate, too, of 9.3. That's pretty dang good for a nose tackle. And like I said, short arms. He's 6'1", 340, so he can pack a punch in the run game. But pass pro, how much you're going to get in the NFL with those shorter arms, don't know. I just like the overall player he was and the kind of attitude he plays with as well.
Yeah, 6'1", 340, you can't teach that.
No.
Yeah, the arms are a little bit shorter, which is a big concern, but I mean, at the bare minimum, you're getting a really solid run stuffer who can give you something as a pass rusher. So, totally fair. Been in college for a couple years now. He's a senior. Obviously, COVID was one of his years, I do believe. And interesting enough, this is a 0-star recruit. So he worked his way up from playing in community college all the way up to playing with Oregon, and now he's considered maybe a 4th or second round draft pick. So a lot of respect for that. I mean, a big individual played his way into a potential NFL spot, which is, I mean, from a 0-star recruit all the way to the NFL is wildly impressive. So I like the fact you put him on your list. It's like a good feel-good story. I didn't have him on my list, but I'm glad that he's on yours.
Heck yeah. And I have a question about one other guy that I don't have in my top 75, but I've heard great things about him from you. Not any, unless you're a sicko, you're going to love this. Tell me about the tackle in Ozzie Trapilo. I've heard great things, but give me some more insight to his game. What's he looking like? Why is he ranked at 63 on your board?
Yeah, Ozzie from Boston College, older prospect. He's more of like a traditional tackle. Like you look down the board at some of these offensive tackles, you're seeing a lot of guys who are going to convert to guard. Jonah, who's on my list, Wyatt Milam, maybe Marcus Mbao, although I think he can also play tackle. Like Ozzie is somebody who I personally think will stick at tackle. Smart player, good size, moves off the ball quite well. I do think he can play guard if you want him to, because he has good size to him, 6'8", 309 pounds. I did not know he was 6'8". I thought he was about 6'6". 6'8" is unbelievably solid for a tackle. Maybe because of how tall he is, he's probably more of a tackle than a guard. But yeah, just moves his feet really well. Constantly is always making plays out on the football field. I think he's going to be a solid pass protector. Now, I don't know if he'll ever be a true starter, right? But as a swing tackle, maybe somebody who does get some spot starts here and there, and maybe could be a guy who starts in your roster for a couple games here and there. But I do think he'll more than likely just be a swing tackle who gets taken in the third round, fourth round. And you feel really solid about who your swing tackle is or somebody who maybe could be your long-term right tackle. So I just thought that he had the good size for the game. I thought he felt the game really solidly, good feet, good hands, always throws a nice little first punch. So, yeah, he's a little bit higher on my list just because I value tackles more so than guards, hence why I have somebody like Jonah a little bit below him. But I just love the player that I think he can become in terms of maybe being a future right tackle, but probably being more of a swing tackle.
Awesome. You want to go into our next chunk of players, 46 to 60?
Let's do it.
Awesome. I'll let you kick this one off because I went last time.
All right, at 46, I have Josh Connerly, the tackle from Oregon. 47, Travion Henderson. 48, Siobhan Revelle. 49, Darius Alexander. 50, Landon Jackson. 51, Omar Norman Lott. 52, Nicky Monwari. 53, Tyler Booker. 54, Darian Porter. 55, Princely Umanmielen. Say that right?
Close enough.
Right? Yeah, close enough. 56, Trey Harris. 57, Wyatt Milam. 58, Carson Schlesinger. 59, Mason Taylor. And 60, Dylan Sampson. And
yeah,
do you want to go?
Very, very nice. I'll read off mine. 46, the guy I was just talking about, Cam Scattaboo. 47, Jared Wilson, the center. 48, the guard, and Donovan Jackson. 49, the linebacker, and Carson. I don't know how to say his last name. Carson Schlesinger?
Schlesinger. Yeah, Schlesinger.
Schlesinger. Close. There we go. That's good. 50, we got the D-tackle pass rusher, Omar Norman Lott. There we go. 51, the safety, and Andrew Makuba. 52, the cornerback, and Darian Porter. 53, the safety, and Xavier Watts. In 54, we got the D-tackle, and Alfred Collins. 55, the D-tackle, in TJ Sanders. 56, Demetrius Knight, the linebacker. 57, Wyatt Milam, the guard most likely, but played tackle in college. And then 58, you're not going to like this one. I got Donovan Ezraku down here.
Damn.
And then 59, 59, I got Trey Amos, also pretty low. And then 60, RJ Harvey. Do you have two you'd like me to talk about? Because I have one for sure.
I want to talk about Jared Wilson because I have him 50. Where am I at with him? I have him at 64. And I thought I was a little bit higher on him, but clearly you're a lot higher on him. So you can start us off with Jared Wilson because I'm also a big fan of Jared Wilson as well.
You got to do. Jared Wilson is a center. Dude's a beast, okay? When you look at his tape, he's powerful, good in the run game, also pretty damn good in the pass game. He's just one of the guys when you turn on the tape and you're like, I'm liking everything I'm seeing. Maybe he's not as productive. Maybe he's not as consistent as we see every single day, like in the practices. There has to be a reason he's not ranked super high, right? Because everything I saw on tape, I was a huge fan of his game, and I saw he was physically gifted more than all these other D tackles and offensive linemen he was running next to or running against. Then he gets to the combine, backs it up, has an awesome combine. I think he ranked first out of all interior linemen. He had a phenomenal day. And with that being said, I had no choice but to rank him at 47. I love what he brings to the table in his film and also as an athlete. And I think he's going to be great value for some team needing a center on day 2.
Yeah, we're talking about a one-year starter for Georgia, who I'm a little surprised actually came out this early. You'd think only having 1 year of experience, you might want to stay another year to garner that experience and maybe move himself into a more consensus second or even maybe a late first. But I just love the fact that he is an elite mover from that center position. Typically a center, you're looking for a smaller built guy who could be more of a zone guy who can get out. Sort of like Jason Kelsey wasn't massive, right? You look at all like the top tier centers, they're not huge individuals. They're not 6'8", 300 pounds like Ozzie Trapilo is. Jared Wilson's only 6'3", 310, ran incredibly well at the combine, but only a 1 year starter. That's probably why he's a little bit lower on a lot of people's big boards, just because he doesn't have the experience, which you kind of need from that center position. So I think Wilson is somebody who I don't think should start his rookie year. I think maybe should sit for a year or two, learn behind a veteran, and then start, and then really put it all together in year 2 or year 3. But, man, you put this dude in like a zone scheme where he can get out and run, it's just going to be almost unstoppable to stop him just because he is so powerful, strong, can move so well. Like double teams, he's going to dominate. I have him only down all the way towards my 60s just because I just think he's a 1 year starter who needs time to develop. Like that's the only reason why. But I think once he does develop, like he can become a truly fantastic player. So, yeah, I like Jared Wilson. Having him at 47, I think is high, but I don't disagree with you.
Awesome. And then I have a question about one of your players. You have Nick Eamon-Wari, the standout safety at the combine. Just to read off the kind of day he had: 6'3", 220, 32-inch arms, 9-inch hands, and this is the fun stuff: 4.38 40-yard dash with a 1.49 10-yard split. Insane. 43-inch vertical jump, 11.5 broad. That's 11.6 for y'all that can't count inches. And then 20 reps in the bench press. You have him ranked here at, one more time, 52 overall. Spoiler, I have him a good chunk higher. I want to hear about him because I want you to boost him for me. Tell me how good Nick Eamon-Wari is, and also what's kind of holding you back from ranking him higher, in your opinion?
Yeah, there's a lot of good glimpses of what he can become. I love his versatility in terms of being a smaller linebacker / somebody who plays within the box as a safety. My issue with Nick is that I just don't think he's very refined as what he should be. Like, he is a strong safety playing within the box, but he's not a great tackler. He just doesn't have good pursuit angles. What I do like about him, though, is that he's an incredible athlete who can move quite nicely. Don't think he's the most fluid athlete who can flip his hips and run with anyone, but what I like about him, honestly, is, I mean, you put this dude inside a box and you have him play man coverage against the tight end, like he's going to win most of those reps. There are certain reps where he's out there at corner and he's genuinely locking up players, which is bizarre because of how big and lengthy he is, and it's the fact that he's not going to be used at those positions, but he has glimpses of being really good at it. I just think that he's just not a great tackler, right? He's just not a very good tackler, which is what you're going to want from that position. I think he's a little bit stiffer, especially in the hips, which is definitely not what you want from a guy who plays in the secondary. Just think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of fixing him as a true inside the box like player. But I think there is a really good piece of moldable clay right there where you could just kind of build him to whatever you want him to be. It's just, I think there's a lot of work that is going to go into him, which maybe some teams are going to be willing to do because of how good of an athlete he really is in terms of his straight line speed, his size. Like, you don't find too many safeties who are 6'3", 227 that also are like one of the fastest safeties in a class. So he will get definitely a shot first or second round just off of pure size and speed and the ability to move. I just think everything between the ears and in terms of being somebody who can actually go in there and genuinely make plays, tackles for losses, stuff around the line of scrimmage, like he's just going to struggle with that a little early. But again, I have him a little bit lower because I think he needs time to develop more so than I don't think he can play right away. So yeah, I have him 52. I did consider moving him a bit upwards on the list just because of the upside, but I just couldn't do it because I think the players in front of him are more impact players right away. I just think it might take a bit of time for Nick Eamon-Wari to truly develop into becoming the guy. But you have him a little bit higher on your list. Do you want to spoil it and just kind of get the conversation out of the way?
Yeah. Do you want to know the number? Or you want to wait on that?
Don't give us the number quite yet. Just give me a range.
Okay.
Is he top 30?
He is.
Interesting. Okay, go ahead.
What
are your thoughts on Mr. Nick?
Nick Eamon-Wari, like you said, most time when I scout prospects, it's like, what can you do as a football player is what I look at. I'm like one of those coaches. I got lost in the sauce, man. Nick Eamon-Wari had his combine. I already loved him as a prospect. Like, he's not the complete football player. We know that. But I just saw the combine, and I was like, dog, some coach, please, some good coach, get a hold of this guy and make him into something unreal. 6'3", 220. 4.38, and even crazier, the 10-yard split, 1.49. How do you turn that down? I would pick him over most of these guys just because if you make it work, he could cover your tight end like that. You have an elite tight end, does not matter. You have an elite big receiver, locked down because he can go step for step with those guys easily and also make the plays in the box. Now, he hasn't made those plays quite yet, so there's stuff to be had and stuff to be formed correctly, but everything you said, the upside here is just off the charts, and I've got googly eyes for the athleticism here. Pretty unlikely of me. Like, this isn't my true scouting self, but I don't know. He got the best of me. Twist my arm. That's why I love Nick Eamon-Wari.
Fair, totally understand. I have two players who I'm intrigued by. One because I love the player, and you have him a little bit higher than me, which I love, and the other one because I think you're way lower on him. So we'll start off with the one that I love. Shout out Andrew Makuba, 51 for you, 67 for me. I love Andrew Makuba. Do you want to start us off with why you have him at 51? Because I'll definitely have some piece to say about Makuba because I love Andrew Makuba just as much as you do.
Dude, Andrew Makuba is sweet. great in coverage, 89.7 coverage grade on PFF, and just had a phenomenal final year. He also had 57 tackles, so he was helping in the run game as well. Maybe not his strong suit, but he's definitely doing his thing there for sure. A lot of passer rating of 12.1 and forced 6 incompletions. He's a no-fly zone safety. That's like the bottom line what he is, and you can't find that every single draft, and he was a focal point of this Longhorn defense. I like what you get. I like what he brings. And, yeah, he's 22 years old, senior, 6 foot, plenty of good size. What's up to love about Makuba? That's just the reason I have him so high. I know what he is. I know what he's bringing.
Yeah, I really had to, toss and turn about where I was going to put him. I wanted to move him up into my top 50, but I just couldn't let my bias throw him up there much higher. And that's just because I think his ceiling is a little limited because he is 6 foot. I think that's a little... I don't want to say a lie. I think he's more like 5'10", 5'11". He's just a little skinny for me. I don't think he'll be able to match physical receivers, even though he did with Jeremiah Smith a couple times, just kind of throwing that out there. But I think once he goes up against the A.J. Browns, if he's one-on-one with A.J., I just have a little concern for that because he's just not a very thick-built guy. He's more of a thin, wiry guy. I think athleticism-wise, he moves quite well, right? Fluid hips, multiple-year starter for big-time programs, Clemson and Texas, solid in coverage. Tackling is going to be an issue for him just because of his size. He's just not big enough or strong enough to seriously bring down physical running backs. But he's willing, and that's all I care about. As long as you will make an attempt, and there were times where he would lay the boom out there. So I will give him the credit. The reason why I would have some other these safeties in front of him is just because they probably present a higher ceiling compared to him. Nicky Monwari has a ceiling to be a truly fantastic player. It just comes down to can he reach that ceiling. I feel like Makuba is somebody who will be in the league for 8+ years and just be a very solid starter for you the entire time, right? And that's, shoot. If I can get that on day 3 or more likely day 2, I'll take that 10 times out of 10, even if it's over a guy like Nicky Monwari who might have more potential. Just comes down to that for me. So, yeah, I love Makuba. And then you want to talk about Donovan Ezaraku because you have him quite low on your list.
Dude, yeah. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. Donovan Ezaraku, I rank these guys in tiers, right? And when I saw his game, phenomenal pass rusher. Absolutely killed it. My only question that I don't know for sure, doesn't he have long arms? I'll look it up right now. I got his combine right here. I can tell you in 2.7 seconds. His arms are 34 inches. Okay. He should rank higher on this. Metro, you got me. My arms are tied. He should be higher on this list. But the reason I have him lower than he should be, I just thought what he brought to the run game was okay. And he was at Boston College, not in the best conference where running is a real threat. But you can't argue with 14 sacks. That is super high production, and with 34-inch arms that will carry into the NFL. I just see him as a third down specialist. Now, should he be ranked higher than where he is? Yeah, he's probably be in the 40 to the 30 somewhere. It's a little bit low, but that's why I have him down here. I just think he's kind of a third down guy, like we were talking about earlier in running backs in our episode before. Go check that out. Put that in the corner. A full packaged running back, like first down, second down, third down. That's what we value more. So I'll send him out there on third down, but I'm not comfortable having there on first down. That's just how I saw him.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I'm higher on Donovan Ezaraku. I'll just come clean. He's in my top 30. And I look at Donovan Ezaraku as a truly special pass rusher. Now, he's a little undersized, 247, 6'2", not the longest, rangiest guy. But I think if you put him in a outside linebacker role for a 3-4 defense, he can legit cause issues for offensive coordinators. But I do see where you're coming from. I don't think he'll ever be a dominant against the run. I do think he can live out there. He could be fine. It's just he's never going to be an above average. He'll be probably a league average run defender with a seriously high ceiling as a pass rusher. So, yeah, I could totally understand it. If you want a truly dominant 3-down guy, he might be somebody who comes in on second, third downs, but probably maybe will only play a handful of run snaps or especially on first down. So that checks out. I just have him a little bit higher on him. Maybe we obviously you think very highly of him too, having him in your top 60. I just have him a little bit higher. So that's fair. Do you have any other player you want to talk about on my side?
Yeah, I got one more. Our first appearance of Travion Henderson. Talk about him, man. What does he bring to the table? You have him at 47 on the board, a potential day one running back. It's kind of a long shot, but it could totally happen. If somebody's going to go, it could totally be Travion. Can you touch on him a little bit? Because I love that kind of value you get in a running back right there.
Yeah, again, I value running backs for can you be a 3-down guy? And I just think Travion can be a 3-down guy. I just think he's better suited as like a explosive 15 carries a game type of guy and just used a lot in the passing game. And so that's why I have other running backs in front of him. Like he's only down the board at 47 just because I think he's exclusively not going to be a 3-down guy, exclusively more used as like, hey, we need a big chunk play, so we're going to throw him out there and make him get some plays. Not saying he's a gadget guy or anything like that. Like he will be somebody who might have a couple of drives where he is the main running back, but again, he fits in the mold of a Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not your Montgomery. He's your Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to be somebody who makes explosive plays here and there. But at times, like he's going to struggle pushing the pile. He's just not big enough. He also had some injuries at Ohio State, a little bit of an older prospect. But, I mean, he's just a clean prospect that does a lot of things correctly. People are going to love him because of his personality, his play style, his willingness to block, his tough, hard-nosed running. Just kind of comes down for me that I value 3-down running backs who I think can do everything. And I just don't think Travion can quite yet handle a full workload as a full-on like RB1. But I do think if you have him as your RB1 and pair him up with a really good RB2, plenty of success there. So I just have him a bit down the board. Plus, I did throw positional value a smidgen here. I don't value running backs too much. So like I think he might be a better player than Josh Connolly, but tackle is just a more important player or a more important position than a running back. So that's why I have him at 47, which you're still top 50. So.
Well said, brother. Well said. You ready for 31 through 45?
Yes. Do you want to quickly throw a little shameless plug in there real quick?
Yeah, dude, of course. Guys, while we have this fantastic show, First and 10, we also make our own content. Metro makes fantastic NFL analysis content. Go check his channel out. It is Metro Sports in the description below. And then I make subpar NFL draft content. Go check that out below as well. All things NFL draft all year long. I'm obsessed. You probably are too. Go subscribe down below. Thank you very much. And with that being said, anything else for you before I move forward?
No, all good. 31 through 45. Do you want? Who did? I think I went last. So do you want to go now?
Would love to. For my 31, we have Derek Harmon making an appearance. 32, we have Azaria Thomas, the cornerback. 33, the wide receiver in Luther Burden III. 34, the guard in Gray Zabel. 35, Michael Williams, the edge rusher. 36, Savone Ravel Jr., the cornerback. 37, Jack Sawyer, the edge. 38, Amika Egbuka, probably lower than most. 39, Josh Connolly, the tackle. 40, Quinshawn Judkins, running back alert. 41, here he is, the quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. 42, Colston Loveland, the tight end. 43, Tyleek Williams, the D tackle. 44, Darius Alexander. And then 45, wide receiver, my man, Jaden Higgins. You go ahead.
Sweet. I have a lot of things I want to talk about with your list because this is
Can't wait.
There's an interesting player that I thought you'd be a lot higher on him, but we'll get to him in a second. So my 31 is Benjamin Morrison. 32, Shedeur Sanders. 33, Shamar Stewart. 34, Micah Williams. 35, Colston Loveland. 36, Maxwell Hairston. 37, James Pierce Jr. 38, TJ Sanders. 39, Tyleek Williams. 40, Xavier Watts. 41, JT Tuimoloau. Very high there compared to where you have him at. 42, Azariah Thomas. 43, Donovan Jackson. 44, Quinshawn Judkins. And 45, Trey Amos.
Awesome. Where do you want to start? Because I definitely have one I want you to talk about. If I, can
I think what I find really fascinating is if you watch our top 10 receivers and top 10 running backs, Luther Burden was a lot higher on your list in terms of your rankings for those receivers. But I have him higher on my power rankings compared to yours just because I think positional value-wise, we just kind of have a bit different. And the same thing with running backs. You have Quinshawn a few spots in front of where I have Quinshawn. But spoiler alert here, I had Quinshawn higher than him on my running back ranking. So kind of interesting to see how that kind of panned out there, of course. But yeah, I think the best place for me to start on your side is I kind of want to hear your thoughts on Luther Burden. Again, you were higher on him in the receiving rankings compared to me.
Spoiler?
I think you had him at 3 and I had him at 6.
No Travis Hunter included, by the way.
Yeah, no Travis Hunter on his side. I had Travis on mine, but I had him at 6. But I have more receivers in my top 30, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Well, you want me to talk about Luther Burden?
Yeah, go ahead.
You got it, man. Luther Burden, like you said, I think it's very interesting that like running backs and wide receivers are lower on my list. The reason for that is I think the defensive talent in this draft is just exceptional.
Yeah,
is it otherworldly? No, but it's damn good, guys. And Luther Burden, for being honest, I wanted him. Like, we all have our favorites. I wanted him to be wide receiver 1. He wasn't this year. He just wasn't. He was scheme dependent, and his scheme let him down. In the NFL, he'll have more success in my eyes. But you talk about a guy who's got really good run after catch ability, showed some flashes of good releases and catching the ball as well. I remember his A&M game, if I'm remembering, it was Mississippi State, remembering it correctly. Ran a good release route, got open, 50-50 ball, pulled it down. He shows flashes of being that kind of wide receiver, but never consistently. And that's what scares me. Now, with that being said, he's ranked wide receiver number 3 for me. I just have other guys ranked higher than him. I think the more productive. I know, no strong word. I have 0 NFL experience, but I am more than confident they will work out better in the NFL than Luther Burden will. If Luther Burden goes to a bad team with a bad O coordinator, I don't see it working. That's just me. I don't see it working out. So with that, I have to rank him lower. That's just kind of my point of view.
Sweet. And I also wanted to ask you, I guess we'll double down on your side, then we can talk about mine.
Perfect.
Jack Sawyer at 37 for you. I have him all the way at 74. So we are on kind of two polar opposites here on Jack Sawyer. So what are your thoughts on Jack Sawyer, and why do you have him a lot higher than I do?
Yeah, man. Jack Sawyer is a guy who you go back to the Ohio State-Texas game, and I don't mean to bring it up, but this guy this guy was on top of the world. He returned it for a touchdown. Everyone's going, Jack Sawyer this, Jack Sawyer that. We get to the combine. Spoiler, he's not an athletic freak. Yeah. And that's what people look for in edge rushers, because it usually translates the best into the league, and he's just not that. But when I go back and look at what he's great at, great in the run, really good in the pass game, 89% grade on PFF, and a 17.6 pass rush win percentage grade on PFF as well, and a true pass set grade of 90.7. I like what he brings, Metro, and above all, he's got really active hands as a plan A and a plan B on the D-line. Now, is his ceiling capped? Hell yeah, it is. I'm not even going to try to front there. I know that he can't. I know he can be an impact player, but he's not going to be changing my franchise forever. That's what it is. But Jack Sawyer is a really good football player, and I think that gets overshadowed a lot by guys like Nick Eamon-Warry, who my bad, have ranked higher in this list, so maybe I'm doing something wrong. But Jack Sawyer's an awesome football player. The ceiling is capped, but he's just done it at a high level for a long time, and I think we'll continue to do it in the NFL.
Yeah, I hate Jack Sawyer for what he did to my Longhorns. It was a painful day for me as a Longhorns fan, having to watch Jack Sawyer's big, meaty arms, big, meaty legs just sprinting down the sideline. It was brutal. I hate him for it. Now, that's not why I have him lower on my board. I just think as a prospect, there is a very relatively lower ceiling compared to other guys. Like, I think Donovan Ezeraku can be a bit more of like a 3-down guy. I think Jack Sawyer will be good against the run. He just doesn't have incredible arm length. I think he's a little bit slower. I don't think he's a great athlete. I think he's strong and physical, and I think as a how do I want to word this? In terms of what type of like pass rush style he's going to be kind of like Jared Verse, where Jared Verse is more of like a physical style guy, more so than like a finesse guy. It's just that I don't think he's as good at it compared to a lot of other like power rushers, just because he's not the biggest guy, not the strongest guy. What I will say, though, is I just think Jack Sawyer is going to be a dude who will always have a role in the league just because people will love him, his personality, his play style, his physicality, and he'll be good against the run. I just don't think he'll ever be a 6+ sack a season guy, even though he was pretty good for Ohio State, which is a top-tier program. So one thing I will say about Jack Sawyer, and I'll give him credit going back to that Texas game, I would say Jack Sawyer is like 90% of the reason why Cameron Williams moved out of potentially being a first or second round pick. Yeah. Like, for the longest time, Cameron Williams was considered a first round pick just off of pure upside and talent. And now we'll give him a bit of a break here. He was dealing with an ankle injury, but still, Jack Sawyer just took his lunch money and was the guy who had the big play that led to the touchdown. So I think you have to give some level of respect there to, of course, Jack Sawyer. I have him a little bit lower just because I don't love his upside, but I do like his floor in terms of being like a really solid rotational edge rusher, so I can see that. But do you want to talk about some of my players?
Yeah, man. I got 2 questions for you. One, our quarterback number 2 pops up, Shedeur Sanders at 32 for you. For me, he was 41, so right around the same range. What do you like about Shedeur? Why is he ranked right here above guys like Shamar Stewart, a big name at the Combine, Colson Loveland, a big tight end we love, and, of course, Quinshon Judkins? What do you see in him that puts him over those guys?
Yeah, I think in some ways there is some quarterback position of value involved here. I think Shedeur is a little bit underrated nowadays. Like, people, and funny, I saw a TikTok a few hours ago, and they were like, I don't see Shador Sanders as a second-round pick. And
That's
I was like,
crazy.
listen, I can understand that. Is Shador the greatest prospect of all time? No. But he excels at a lot of different things that you need to excel at as a quarterback. Accuracy, getting the ball in the right location consistently. I think he is a really smart player. Now, his pocket awareness could use some work. We'll also say he played with some poor offensive lines. And I don't necessarily think he has the craziest arm talent, nor do I think he has the craziest playmaking ability. I just think, look, he at the bare minimum, the worst that Shador Sanders will be is a solid game manager, which is fine. That's what you need in the NFL to be a successful team. Do I think he has the up? There's a reason why Cam Ward is the number one quarterback, because he is the upside guy. So do I think that Shador could be a guy who leads a team to a championship? And maybe not. That's just kind of is what it is. There's a reason why he's not going to go first overall or potentially top 5. But I think a team will be willing to give him a shot because he is very solid fundamentally, very good mechanics. I think his pocket presence will improve. And if he just plays on time and can really just dive deeper into being a full-time game manager, he will find success at the NFL. So, again, positional value does kind of come into play here. I thought he was one of the best quarterbacks in college last year. And so I'm not going to overthink it just because he's Deion's son. People are going to hate on him for that. I don't think he's the next great quarterback and the next Patrick Mahomes or anything like that. But if you say, hey, he's going to have a 10-plus year career as a solid game manager and towards the back end, a good backup, that's a successful pick right there. So I have no issue with him whatsoever.
Couldn't have said it better, brother. And something else I want to call about Shador. He is Deion's son, and you think oh, he's brought up soft, and he's had everything handed to him. Shador is tough as shit. Not only because we see him do it in college. I played Pee Wee with him, and he was a middle linebacker in Pee Wee, playing 2 years up. He was the hardest-hitting dude in the entire league, and nothing's changed. This guy gets smacked when he steps up in the pocket, gets right back up like nothing. He's a leader amongst men, and I think that carries volumes. Let's say he wasn't quite that tough. Now we got the locker room on ice. They're not the same, but if a guy will take a hit for you and step up in the pocket to win a game, that speaks volumes, and that's how you stay in the league for a long time. Like you said, as a game manager even, you can have a role in the NFL for as long as you want. I have one more guy I want to ask you a question about, if that's okay with you, sir.
Go ahead, shoot it.
James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher. You have him about, not going to give the actual number, but about 30 spots away from me. I have him pretty up there, so I want to hear what you like about him, and also, what are some drawbacks? Why isn't he high as he on my list?
Yeah, funny enough, I was actually, when we got to when we got to where he is on your list, I was going to ask him about him because I have a feeling you have him top 15 or so. I have a lot of question marks with James Pierce Jr. I don't think he'll ever be a hand in the dirt guy. Now, if you put him in a 3-4 where he can play more in that outside linebacker stance and get off the ball clean, I think he can work in that role. I just don't know if right now if he has the ability to play with power. I think he's much more of a finesse guy. And even as a finesse guy, I don't really think he has the greatest bend, especially when he does play with his hand in the dirt or play in a 5-tech situation. So I think there is upside. He's one of the greatest, or I shouldn't say greatest, one of the better athletes in this year's draft class, sort of like Shamar Stewart and even Michael Williams. I think James Pierce Jr. has very good athleticism. I just personally think that there is a big risk factor with him. I just don't know if I want to be the guy that takes the risk on him, not to mention, and I didn't involve this in my personal rankings here, but there are the question marks about who he is off the field and stuff. Again, not in my personal rankings, did I take that into account, but, teams will. For me, I think as a designated pass rusher, he'll be solid. I just think it needs to be kind of scheme dependent, and I also just don't know what he looks like against the run. So, not to mention, Tennessee rotated defensive lineman every other play, it felt like. So, he didn't get too much productivity. I will say, before we do go into our next little chunk here, I want to talk about JT Tuimoloau, because you have him 68, and I have him in my top 40. Just outside my top 40 at 41. So I just briefly wanted to kind of talk about him, and we don't have to go too much detail, but I love JT Tuimoloau. I just think, when it comes down to it, I want a surefire hit. And even though I have James Pierce Jr. above him, who I think potentially has a higher ceiling, I just look at JT. He's kind of like the Andrew Makuba of the defensive line, where I'm like, dude's going to be in the league for 8+ years and just be a super solid player. He's good against the run. I think he's better than Jack Sawyer in the pass rush department. For me, again, in terms of upside, he's never going to be a 10+ sack a season guy. He's never going to be. I'd be frankly a little surprised if he ever made Pro Bowls or anything like that. But if you're telling me, hey, this guy's going to be a decent to really good edge number 2, pair him alongside a Trey Hendrickson, a Micah, or one of those dominant pass rushers. Just think he would be like a perfect complement who can get you 6 to 7, maybe 8 sacks a year, play good against the run, and just be reliable his whole career. Like, that's what I see with JT. And again, in a draft class that doesn't have surefire hits, doesn't have consensus Pro Bowl, stars in the making, I look at JT and say that this is somebody you can take on day 2 and feel like, hey, I have a guy who's going to be super solid for me my entire time I have him. Yeah, he's not that far away from me from James Pierce Jr. Like, I really had a debate between JT and James Pierce just because I just don't know what James Pierce looks like, especially in certain schemes. Whereas for JT, I feel fine no matter where you want to put him, no matter what you want to do with him. So I know you have him a little bit lower. I'm sure for you it's probably upside, I'd imagine.
Yes, correct. You got it. Right
so,
ahead.
Yeah, I was going to briefly talk about him and kind of show him a little bit of love because I don't know if we talked about him for too much time. So is there anybody else you want to briefly talk about, or do you want to move to the next chunk here?
I'm itching to talk about this next chunk of players because there's many players I want to ask you about on your list.
Very interesting. Okay, I guess I'll go first this time.
Go ahead.
16, Will Johnson. 17, Walter Nolan. 18, Braden Swinson.
Heyo, Braden Swinson.
Yeah, Braden Swinson. I'm sure we'll talk about him in a second. 19, Nick Scorton. 20, Jalen Walker. 21, Josh Simmons. 22, Gray Zabel. 23, Matthew Golden. 24, Kenneth Grant. 25, Jaden Higgins. 26, Donovan Ezaraku. 27, Emeka Egbuka. 28, Derek Harmon. 29, Luther Burden. And 30 is going to be Caleb Johnson.
Let's go. This is the meat right here. This is the fun part. 16, we got Nick Scorton, the edge rusher. 17, Cam Ward, the quarterback, making his appearance. 18, we got Will Johnson, the cornerback. 19, Walter Nolan, the D tackle. 20, Kenneth Grant, the D tackle. 21, Nikki Munwori, the freak athlete safety. 22, Matthew Golden, the wide receiver. 23, Shamar Stewart, the edge rusher athlete. 24, Tyler Booker. 25, Jalen Walker. 26, Travion Henderson. 27, Caleb Johnson. 28, Jahad Campbell. 29, Braden Swinson, shout out. And then 30, Benjamin Morrison.
Braden
Can
Swinson?
I ask? Yeah, please. You already know where I'm going. Braden Swinson, because he fires me up, and you got him ranked 18. Let's effing go. Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it.
Braden Swinson has been somebody who I have been on for basically since the season ended, right? And the entire time I was like, man, why is nobody talking about this guy? There was one YouTuber, and I'm sorry I don't know his name, who was like, he was the guy who was like, this dude is top 5 in this class as an edge rusher. And I was like, I see him in the
drafts.
I think so. I'm not subscribed to him. He's like
Hail Mary Sports, Alex.
It might have been him. I don't know.
Okay, I know. That's my boy. I know him pretty well.
But I was like, this dude was on him from like day one. And I was like, finally, like I felt so like, thank God I'm not the only person who sees this in him. Because it felt like for a while that I was the only person who thought of him this way. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just throw him outside my top 50, even though I think he's top 25. I'll just leave him out there, But then I think this was a learning lesson for me to just fully, and same thing with Matthew Golden too, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point, or maybe not because we've already talked about him. But I was like, I'm high on this guy, but nobody else is, so I'll just throw him down the board because maybe they're seeing something that I'm not seeing. And so now that it's like everyone's kind of hopping on the bandwagon that these guys are first or second round picks, I'm like, in some ways I'm happy because I'm like, finally I feel like I'm
validation.
There's some sort of validation there, but I'm also mad at myself because I'm like, I should have known better. Like I should have known to put this guy in my top 25. So some learning lessons there from me, but man, I love Braden Swinson. You want to talk about a disruptor and just prototypical size, 6'4", 250. He's just always in the backfield. And that's for me the big thing. Like, I just look at him, and again, we talk about upside, ceilings, floors. Braden Swinson, I feel so certain, is just going to be a really good player. Really good. Maybe might make a Pro Bowl, maybe not, but will always just be reliable as hell. Shamar Stewart could be great, could be awful. James Pierce Jr. could be great, could be awful. Micah Williams, same story. I feel so confident that Braden Swinson will, at the bare minimum, be like bordering on Pro Bowl level, like or close to that level. Hence why I have him top 20. I mean, he is just every time that there is a pass rushing play, he's in the backfield. Maybe not making a sack, but pushing the quarterback forward, forcing him to roll out, causing disruption. Against the run, he's got good size. He's also incredibly smart. Just a good dude all around. Of course, I don't know him personally, but I've heard he's a good dude. it's kind of the only thing that kind of held me back on him is he wasn't like a full-time starter for LSU for a while until like this past year where he had 9 sacks and fully kind of arrived at the NFL at the college level. I just look at him, I say he's got the full package. He might not be the most explosive, the greatest athlete, or have the greatest statistics or anything like that, but you put him anywhere, 3-4, 4-3, allow him to get off the edge and just roll. Like he's just going to cause havoc for quarterbacks. I'll be honest with you. Is this a safe place? Is this safe?
Always. Bring the heat.
If I'm the Bengals, I would pick Braden Swinson.
Ooh, okay.
Braden Swinson
I
or Nick
respect the
Skorson.
hell out of that.
Yeah, so if he goes top 15, I'll have no issues with it. Now, maybe that's just me drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit here, but I'm genuinely serious. Like, I think he will be a first-round pick, and the more and more we get closer to the draft, the more and more I'm going to start putting Braden Swinson in the first round, or bare minimum, early second. So you're not far on him either. You're only, 10 spots away? You have him at 29, so
29.
What are your thoughts on Braden Swinson?
Dude, Braden Swinson, like you said, my boy Alex at Hail Mary Sports, met him at the Senior Bowl. Great guy. He was doing a mock draft, and he had like Braden Swinson like 7 over Travis Hunter. And I'm like,
hell yeah.
You ever seen the clip of, I'm looking at his face, you get the idea, where he's like, who would I want taking the shot in the NBA Finals? I want Iguodala. So I'm like, who the hell is Iguodala? That's what I'm thinking about Braden Swinson. So I got to check it out, right? Like, that guy's smart. He's got to see something. Awesome, explosive, powerful rusher. We have a lot of speed in the rush game nowadays. Now tackles are getting faster, and countering that, the NFL is shifting back towards power, and Braden Swinson has got that power. He also, my personal favorite, you'll hear me harp on it all day, the active hands this guy has. They keep moving nonstop. He'll punch you, rip, club, whatever you need, he's getting past you. And it also helps that he's pretty damn strong as well, so those punches make a difference. I like his game. His fundamentals are great, and he's relentless when he rushes the passer with a high motor. I like what he brings to the game over a lot of these guys that are just upside. Like you said, he is the guy that like the YouTube community is like slowly catching on. It's like, oh yeah, okay, Braden Swinson's for real. This guy's fun.
Yeah, heck of a player. I love it. I do have one issue with your top 30 that I'm gonna take me off a little bit, but
talk to me.
I'll talk more about him here in a little bit. I think I'll save it for now.
Okay.
Just to tease the future. I know, right? I'll tease it here. I'm sure you probably could think about who it is, but we'll save it for now. Okay. Do you want to talk about Jalen Walker?
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, because we have him pretty close to one another. I have him at 20, you have him at 25, so we probably see him pretty similar to one another. So I'll let you kind of take the floor with Jalen.
Jalen Walker is a linebacker who converted into an edge more this season, and he was just a menace in the pass rush game. This guy, we get after the pass nonstop, had about, I don't have his sacks right here with me, but he was a problem off the edge. And he showed that kind of versatility. Who's quick, fast, can cover a little bit as well. 6'2", 245. He's a chess piece, man. Some D coordinator is going to love this guy. Now, I will say his game is primarily speed and twitchiness. Now, don't get me wrong. He's one of the freakiest athletes in this entire draft. He's got some power too, but Jalen Walker is more towards just twitchiness for me, and that's why I can only rank him so high, and he can't crack the top 15 for me, but I respect the hell out of his game. He's going to make a big difference in the NFL, and he's really gifted, and he's going to make some stuff happen.
6.5 sacks last year.
Thank you. It's like solid number.
Previous year, 5 sacks. We see him pretty similar to one another. I guess this is kind of a good question. Do you view him as an edge or an off-ball linebacker?
I'm going to be honest. I don't think he should have his hand in the dirt every single play. A lot of people, like, when they see flashes of a guy like, oh, he can rush the passer. Well, it's like, no shit, he's fast. He's going to be pretty good at it. 6.5 sacks is like, it's a really good year, but, like, Braden Swinson's got 9, and that's not accounted for like it should be. But that's just my thoughts. He's better off being a linebacker, and then if it's third down, you make shit happen, and you really scare the offense and the O-line. They got to count for where this guy's at. That's the best use of him, in my opinion. What are your thoughts, though?
I would use Jalen as like the ultimate like weapon, whereas like we're gonna throw him all across the defensive line, the front 7. He might play outside linebacker, he might play inside linebacker. Hell, sometimes we'll blitz him up the middle. Like I would use him kind of like what Dallas was initially thinking about doing with Micah, until Micah was like such a god at being a pass rusher. They're like, all right, we just got to put him at full time. But like I would use him as like just all over the field, multiple positions. I think he has the athletic profile. He's big, he's long, he's lengthy. He moves well. He gives offensive coordinators headaches. So yeah, I would just kind of use him all around. If I had to say like definitively what position I would put him at between off-ball linebacker or edge, I'd say it's scheme dependent. If you run a 3-4, maybe I'd consider him off the edge. If you run a 4-3, probably stick to inside linebacker. So whatever your team runs, just take it as that. So yeah, I think we see him pretty similar to one another. Do you want to talk about another one of my players, or do you want to go into another one of yours?
I got one more question for you for sure, and then I'm good.
Okay, go ahead.
It's just not bugging me. I love this player. Jaden Higgins, the ex-wide receiver out of Iowa State. Okay? He's got everything you want there in ex-wide receiver. Talk about him now. Why is he ranked at 25? Explain it, because I have him at... You're right. My trends is like I rank these guys way lower than average. I have him at 25. So 20 spot difference, nothing crazy. But why do you have him at 25, and like what do you love about his game?
Yeah, so when we did our receiver rankings, and I guess that's been a few days now, so if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. We go into more detail about every receiver. I had Jaden Higgins as, my 4th ranked receiver? That's including Hunter. So I had him very high on my list. I just love what he presents. Good size, good physicality, moves well. And unlike a lot of other players in this class, especially down the board, he can get off the line of scrimmage. He's a good route runner. He moves well. Now, yards after catch, explosivity, speed, stuff like that, not necessarily his forte. You're going to get more of that in Luther Burden. So I think it's what do you prefer? Do you prefer somebody who plays more exclusively in the slot, who can go outside here and there, but more a slot guy, who is more of a burner, speedy, athlete, beats people off the line of scrimmage because of how athletic he is? Or do you want more of like a technician with size who can do a lot of different things, win 50-50 balls, win it underneath, win routes? Maybe not as versatile because I think he's probably strictly outside. But I think that's kind of the debate there. Now, Jaden Higgins is only, 3 or 4 spots ahead of Luther, so they're really close in my opinion. I just love the height and what you get in Jaden Higgins. I also think he should probably be considered more often in first rounds. I think he'll probably go day 2. But if you say, hey, the Packers take him at, 23, I don't have a huge issue with it. He's long, lengthy. I just don't know if he'll ever be a wide receiver 1, which maybe Burden has that potential, just because I don't think he's the greatest athlete, which I think will somewhat limit him. Like, I don't think he's going to necessarily be a burner who catches the ball, takes it to the house. Like, that's just not a skill set, which you kind of need to be a wide receiver 1, in my opinion. Like, say what you want about, AJ, CD, Jamar. Those dudes can take it to the house. Like, Higgins probably won't do that. But I look at him, good size, can run every single route very well, understands the nuance of the game. And so I just think he's going to be a safe player that whenever he does get off the board, you're going to feel really happy about. For full transparency about my list and how it kind of was put together, initially speaking, I actually had these receivers a little bit lower, like more towards, honestly, closer where you have your receivers at, where I have more in the 31 to 45 range. But then I sort of started to think about what I value, and I think if you can get a dominant wide receiver, more so than like a okay defensive lineman, which I think a lot of these defensive linemen will kind of become, I'll value them a bit more, right? Hence why I put Higgins and Golden and Burden over Shamar or Michael. So that's that conversation. I did want to ask you about one of your players real quickly, and Tyler Booker, who I think we probably see very similar to one another. I'm just a little bit lower on him than you are. So I have Booker at 53. You have him in your top 25. So go ahead and cover Booker here.
Would love to. Booker is a guy that, I'm just going to be honest here, I've talked about this before. We really scout, and then we do 7th grade scouting. Tyler Booker is a 7th grade scout's dream, man. You watch his highlight tape, and it is fun as hell. He's ragdolling dudes nonstop. He had a pass blocking grade on PFF of 86.5 and a run block grade of 63.9. Not that good, but his pass block was superb. He is just so powerful, so strong. His movement is limited. That's his issue. Should he be ranked in the top 20? Because I have him at 24. Should he be ranked in the top 25? Maybe he should be a little bit lower. That's just me. But I got too excited on the highlight film. He's got to be at least in the top 30 for me. That's why he comes in here. 6'5", 325 is a strong blue chip guard in my eyes. Is he good at being all-pro? I don't think he's going to be an all-pro, but I know he's going to be a damn good player in the NFL. And what I've also heard, super high IQ. I don't know the guy. I've just heard this. Super high IQ. The league loves him. He's a competitor, crazy work ethic, a leader on the Alabama team. He went from the Saban era into the Kalen era, correct? I want to say that correctly.
DeBoer.
Cool.
DeBoer.
Yep, DeBoer. Thank you. DeBoer era, he switched coaches, which is a big deal when you go to Bama. You go to Bama for the prestige and the coaching. He's been through that transition, was a leader through that transition as well. I like what he brings. I like the human he is. And yes, he can't do east to west game very well, like a zone block. He'd be better in the gap scheme. That's okay. All it takes is one team to pick a player high, and Tyler Booker just needs one team to take him high. And I'm more than confident he's going to find a home on day one.
Yeah, I kind of, that last little chunk there you talked about with the scheme, that's kind of why I rank him a little bit. If he goes to the right scheme, he'll be good. He'll be very good. But if he goes to the wrong scheme, he might not. He might not be very good.
Team.
Like he's not. You can't use him in zone. You got to use him more in, man on man, gap scheme type stuff. You can't put him in zone. You can't have him running out too much. I also kind of worry about him as like a puller, right? Being a lead blocker on a screen. I'm not sure how fast he's going to move.
If Tyler Booker was pulling in front of me, I mean, they tell you to spill it, right? I'm not spilling shit. I'm running out the way if it's Tyler Booker. No, I'm not touching Tyler Booker.
No, I
Go ahead,
understand. I just think, man, I just look at him. I just say, man, if you put him in his own scheme, it's going to be a rough watch.
Yeah,
which that's going to limit what teams he can go to. And so I think there's maybe a handful of teams that will be willing to take him in the second or first round. So it's all dependent on where he goes. If he goes to the right team with the right scheme, with the right understanding of his pros and cons, which I'm sure will happen. It's the NFL. They do a lot of work into this. So whatever team does take him, I'm sure they'll put him in the right situation. But if the wrong team does take him, I think it could look really ugly really quickly. So that is the end of this chunk. Do you want to move on to our top 15?
Yeah, couldn't have said it better right there.
All
For
right,
our top 15, it's going to be fun. I can already see the question I got. Number 1, care if I go first, sir?
Go for it.
Awesome. 1, Abdul Carter. 2, Travis Hunter. 3, Mason Graham. 4, Ashton Genty. 5, Armand Membu. 6, Tyler Warren. 7, Omarion Hampton. What the hell is he doing so high? I love him, though. 8, we got Mike Green. 9, James Pierce Jr. That's going to be shocking. 10, Jahdae Barron. 11, Malachi Starks. 12, Kevin Mix Jr. 13, Will Campbell. 14, Josh Simmons. And 15, Teteroa McMillan. Go ahead, Metro.
All right. 1, I have Travis Hunter. Or, sorry, I should probably do this 15-1. Apologies. 15, Cam Ward. 14, Omarion Hampton. 13, Tyler Warren. 12, Jahdae Barron. 11, Armand Membu. 10, Kelvin Banks. 9, Tet McMillan. 8, Malachi Starks. 7, Mike Green. 6, Will Campbell. 5 is Jahad Campbell. Whoa. 4, Mason Graham. 3, Ashton Genty. 2, Abdul Carter. And number 1, Mr. Heisman himself, Travis Hunter.
All right. Hold the phone.
Hold the phone.
Jahad Campbell. 5th overall. Talk to me. Cook,
this
buddy.
is the guy who I want to talk about. This is the guy who I was teasing. Jahad Campbell might be my favorite player in this draft class. I think he is a black, or let me rephrase that. He is a Jesus, I don't want to word this. I'm trying to say it a certain way. He is a, how like in the 90s and 80s they had these big physical linebackers that just want to put you in the dirt? That's Jahad Campbell. He wants to put you in the
throwback.
Dirt. He's not as big as, he's a throwback. That's the word I was looking for. He's not as big, as lanky, or, as broad-shouldered as those guys are. But this dude just can do everything for you. He is a classic disruptor. And that is what I ultimately like out of my linebackers. I want a dude who is a disruptor, who can do it all. I think he can come off the edge, can get you some pass rush juice. Not sure you use him as that, but as an off-ball linebacker, great size, great mobility, just moves super well, and moves solid in coverage. I think that's maybe my one small complaint is he's just a little bit like maybe lacks experience there because he's only been linebacker for a few years now because he was a edge rusher coming out of high school, transitioned to linebacker. So I think he needs a little bit of time to develop. But, man, I love Jahad Campbell. I love everything about him. He's just a physical specimen, physical as hell. You have him a lot lower than me, and that's the player that I was going to talk about with you. But
I knew it. I was itching to talk about him. I wanted you to bring it up. So
go ahead.
You want me to talk about him now?
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on Jahad and why you think he's all the way
just
down.
Just a horrible player, and I have him so far down.
Yeah. Go ahead. Explain yourself.
Jahad Campbell, the throwback player, is awesome, man. He's a great prospect. My only concern is when I watched his tape, the instincts were good to me, but not elite. When I'm drafting a linebacker or a / edge rusher in the top 10, I better feel awesome about those instincts. And that's just kind of where the difference was for me. But then again, that's subjective. When you look at tape, you see something, You see white, I see black. Like, it's night and day. You just never know. It's what our eyes are seeing. And maybe we're feeling better some kind of. Maybe I got a smoothie next to me, right? And then the next day I don't have a smoothie when I watch Jahad Campbell. These things make a difference. Like, the mood you're in depends on what you think about a player. And that sounds dumb, but that can really happen. So we see differently there, and that's okay. But you can't argue with the athlete Jahad Campbell is. And that's where I have more than nothing of respect for this guy. Great player, amazing athlete. And he's going to find, like you said, if him and Jalen Walker end up in the right scheme, start the buses, that poor team.
Yeah, I just think with Jahad, I think he's just a very similar player to Jalen Walker, but a lot more refined. Like, Jalen needs a lot of work as an edge rusher, a lot of work as a off-ball linebacker. That's kind of why I think he should just be a weapon who just plays off of instincts. I think Jahad Campbell is just a better version of that. In terms of instincts, I do agree that he needs to improve them. I don't think he's bad at them by no means. Just think he needs more experience out there playing against more schemes, different systems, and so on and so forth. But he's a reliable tackler. I think he's a good blitzer, can cause havoc for quarterbacks and come off the edge, make plays there. Solid in coverage, still developing, needs a bit more time. But I'm willing to bank on the upside of Jahad Campbell because I'm very certain he's going to hit his upside. Just all comes down to the right coaching staff with the right scheme. I think he's one of the few exceptional prospects. Not blue chip by no means, but very close to being up there with those guys. So, yeah, I'm at number 5. I frankly think Jahad Campbell could be a top 5 pick, and I would have zero issue with it. Now, there was an injury I think he recently had, which is concerning. I don't think it's a severe injury, but I think it's something a little worrying for training camp and so on. But if he falls to the back end of the first round and you get Jahad Campbell, like Tampa Bay, if they get him, scary business there. So, who do you want? I mean, you have Marion Hampton at 7, so I have.
I was actually, Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about
Hampton.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Marion because you have him at 14. I have him at 7. I see a lot of big boards, man. Most people don't have Marion in the top 15. We're crazy about him. We're in love. We got googly eyes. What do you love about Marion Hampton? And I'll give some of my 2 cents as well because I have to do it in the top 10. A little bit crazy.
Yeah, I just think that there is, in some ways for some people, there's a bit more positional value that gets brought into play here. And at times, I think there should be. But at the same time, sometimes you just get a prospect that's super good that you should just not overthink. And it's like, he plays running back, but it's like, okay, who cares if he plays running back when he's going to be a multi-year starter that could potentially make Pro Bowls, right? So if you're telling me, would I rather have an edge rusher who will be on my roster for 8 years and just be a very, a 5-sack-a-season guy who's going to be cool and all, but never great, compared to an Marion Hampton who will be great for 5 years, make a few Pro Bowls, and help my offense actually move the football? I think sometimes you just got to stop overthinking it so much, unless, of course, the edge rusher is just incredible. So I love Marion Hampton. I think he's a physical running back who just has the entire skill set there already, moves well, explosive athlete, good footwork. I do think vision behind the line of scrimmage could use some improvement, but was productive at North Carolina, which was not a very good team. And look, Ashton Genty's by far and away the best running back in this class. It's not particularly close. Like blue chip prospect, Ashton Genty's that. But Marion Hampton is really good. And in most other draft classes, if there was no Genty, I think Hampton's a top 15 pick. So that's just kind of where I land on him. And you have him 7th overall, so you're a little higher on him, but clearly we're on the same page basically.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better, man. Marion Hampton it's weird because some of these guys, like a James Pierce Jr. at 9, there's a lot of upside play there. And I talk about how I don't like upside guys, but I just time and time again prove that wrong. Like I said, Marion Hampton, I know what he is. Like, when I meet somebody in life, and I'm like, if I can't read you, I typically don't like you as much as I can if I can read you. That sounds really dumb, but I can read. That sounds really dumb. If I can't figure you out, I'm a simple-minded man. I'm going to keep it pushing. If I figured out Marion Hampton in the first play, man. He runs through people's faces. He's also got a good amount of elusiveness, too, for how big he is. He's strong. He's quick. Maybe not burners like Travion Henderson, but he doesn't need them, man. He's got plenty of juice back there to make it happen. Marion Hampton, dope running back, like you said, would probably be a top 15 pick if there was no Ashton Genty.
Fair enough. Okay, I'll ask you, have you done your James Pierce Jr. conversation? I know I talked to him. Did you talk about him?
I have not.
Right. Go ahead and just run us down on James Pierce and why you have him at number 9.
Yeah, a little bit crazy here, but James Pierce Jr., yes, character concerns is the thing we've heard. I don't know him, okay? Looking at tape. James Pierce Jr., freak athlete. I mean, super productive as well. This is a guy a year ago where we're like, okay, he might just be the best player in next year's draft because he was doing it at a young age. I think he had 13 sacks in his sophomore season, really broke out on the year. In his final year, and in the pass rush, he was an 89 grade on PFF, 84 grade in the run. True pass rush win percentage, 23%. Guys, average is more like 10, 7, 6. 23 is stupid. That's Abdul Carter numbers. And then you also have a true pass rush set win rate, or not win rate, but win grade of 83 on PFF. He's really high at winning on the pass rush, and he produces, man. And the thing that stuck out for James Pierce Jr. to me, he's 243, okay, and 6'5", a little bit lighter than you'd like. I hear you. But he's one of the few that can convert speed into power, which I value a lot. Like I said, the league's transitioning back in a little bit of power. When you're pass rushing, it's a game of chess, essentially. If I am only fast, you are not needing to anchor down. You can be quick on your feet as a tackle. If I can run through your face, you have to account for that power. So I like the tools he has. I think he has pretty active hands as well. And he's also super quick. No shit. He think he ran a 4.4 at the combine. I like what you get. Great get off. Super explosive. Even's got some power and active hands. Really good, well-packaged player. And if he hits his ceiling, we're talking top 5 pass rusher in the league. That's just my personal opinion. I love James Pierce Jr.
Fair enough. I did want to briefly, we don't have to do too much of a conversation here, but we have our tackles in kind of bizarre positions here. So you have
Let me see this.
Membu in front of Banks, and then Banks in front of Campbell. And I have Campbell in front of Banks and Banks in front of Membu. So we have ours kind of basically inverted, the opposite. So you have Membu at 1, I have him at 3, you have Banks 2, I have him at 2, you have Campbell at 3, I have him at 1. So
who do you want to talk about?
Well, I was thinking, let's talk about, like, I guess we can do Will Campbell since you have him a little lower. We'll do Will Campbell first, just real quick.
Cool. Will Campbell, I love his game. He was a fantastic tackle at LSU. Also a hilarious guy. He doesn't want to work at Amazon, like he said in the interview, which is hilarious. Really smart player, really strong. You talk about gifted power, he's got it. The only concern is he didn't play with his hand in the dirt, and he's likely not going to be a tackle in the NFL because his arms are too short. He still can be, but that won't be his strong suit. His best will be at guard. But when he goes to play at guard, I've heard this on shows, and also I've seen it myself, so like you said, it's a validation thing. He doesn't really bend his waist. As a guard, your hand's got to get in the dirt, and I didn't see many times when his hand was in the dirt and bending at the waist and moving forward. He comes out of a 2-point stance on his feet, and that's how he moves. I have serious concern when you just go, I kick him into guard. In the NFL, that could take some time to learn. That's the only reason I have him below. That was like legitimately the only thought I have in pushing him down. It's just the transition will be harder than I think, but I value the talent this guy has and also the IQ this guy has at guard or tackle in the NFL, or maybe even center. What were you thinking about Will Campbell?
That's fair. His 2-point stance he's almost completely standing upwards, basically with like a slight bend.
Yeah.
So if you're going to move him inside the guard, he's going to have to learn how to either hunker down and get in a bit of a lower stance in a 2-point stance, or put your hand in the dirt, keep your butt down and make sure that you can actually get leverage on a guy. I think he's strong enough to where he can play all 5 positions. I don't worry too much about it. I do worry about like that initial get off. Like if you're not used to playing in it with your hand on the dirt, like there is a difference between, all right, I'm playing, both my hands are free and I'm just putting them on my knees and I'm in a 2-point stance. Compare that to...
We were tackles, believe it or not.
Not at a high level, obviously, but but certain plays on a 3-point stance is different. It really is like the whole get off process. You might, if you are more used to a 2-point stance and have to now go into a 3-point stance, it could make it the difference of you going from being somebody who has a really good get off to a really bad get off. I just think with a good offensive line coach, they'll fix that out of him pretty quickly, and I don't view it as being a long-term issue just because it's such like a niche issue to just Will Campbell. Like I don't think we've ever really seen that too often be a serious concern. But even if he does stick out at tackle, I think he will find some success. I do worry about him versus like lengthy, long-armed edge rushers like a Myles Garrett. But I think he'll find success somewhere on the offensive line, even if it does take him a year to kind of adjust. I don't have too many concerns with him, hence why I have him at 6. We have Banks pretty close to one another. I have him at 10, you have him at 12, and we both have him number 2. So what are your thoughts on Banks? We'll just make this one pretty quick.
Similar to Omarion, I know what he is. A solid, stout left tackle. Is he a freak athlete? No, but he's a damn good LT, and that's really all. I know what he is, and he's going to do good in the NFL. Maybe not elite, but I'll take it. You know how many teams are just begging for a good, above-average left tackle? That's my whole argument right there, and I love Banks Jr.
Fun thing about Banks is that he's probably going to stick at tackle. I think he's more of a certified tackle, but I think he can play guard if you need him to.
Totally.
So it's kind of cool that you can kind of put him wherever, and he kind of works wherever. I've been saying this pretty consistently the entire draft process, that I think he's the best pass-blocking offensive tackle in this class. Now, as a run blocker, I think there are certain technique issues he does have. Sometimes he can be a little crazy out there when he's going for those linebackers and whatnot. But, man, I just think that he's just sound. He's so technically sound. He's just reliable. He's not a headache off the field. He's just, you know what you're getting in Kelvin Banks. And like you mentioned, I think if you can get a superstar / really solid tackle for 10, 15 years, you'll take it 10 times out of 10. So, and then Membu, you have him at 5 and I had him at 11. So we're not too far from each other on this, but
yeah,
clearly you're a little higher on him. So go ahead.
Dude, Membu, you look at the film for O-line, correct? Adorable kid. You look at the film for Membu, and he's perfect. He or she, sorry.
She. That's a
she. She is absolutely. Can I have a name real quick?
Rocket.
Great. Elite name right there.
Oh, yeah.
Elite name.
Two cats, Comet, and he's orange, and then Rocket. They're brother and sister.
That's so great. Well, great names, by the way, too. Comet and Rocket should be on the. They're number one and two over prospects. Yeah, got to be.
Yeah, they're first overall picks.
Have to be, man. Have to be. I'd trade the farm for him like Ricky Williams. Armand Membu, perfect season. No sacks, no QB hits. The guys, he protected the quarterback perfectly. That's insane to me. In the SEC against really good pass rushers. So you got to call that out. Perfect season. Now everyone's going, okay, 6'3 yards, his arm's long enough. Goes to the combine, measures out just fine. Plenty long of arms. Maybe not freak arms, but I don't really care because it didn't affect him in college at all. He had a perfect season. Plenty of length. 6'4", actually, not 6'3". They got it wrong. I don't know why you measure a guy. And shorter. Maybe he grew. Who knows? But perfect season. Great combine. Also did a great job there as well. I just don't see reason not. If you need a right tackle, I cannot run this pickup fast enough is my point. That's why I have him at 5. I think there's teams that need a right tackle, and they should take him as fast as possible or even trade on the board to get him there as well. Speak of Comet, what's up, dude?
Yeah, he's coming. Yeah, I have Armand Membu a little bit lower. Not too much lower. He's, 11 on my list. My only reason why is just because he doesn't have the same experience level, at least high-level experience as Banks and Will Campbell. Like Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks have been multi-year starters playing at unbelievably high levels. Like Banks, freshman, starting. Will Campbell, early on in his career, playing and just being super reliable. Like, I know Armand Membu was playing, but 2022 only played how many snaps? 396. Last year had a full run at it, but only 67.1 overall grade. So, yes, I thought he had a really good 2024 season. I just kind of personally view Banks and Campbell as having a bit more experience, whereas for Membu, maybe it was a flash in the pan 1 year thing. Don't think it is. That's why he's in my top 15. But
fair, though.
There's always the chance that it potentially does happen. So, I think that's a good place to kind of put it there. If there's anybody who you guys want us to talk about, let us know in the comments or just check our past videos. We've done a lot of content on especially the offensive players. So, yeah.
Do you want to read every single play? I'm just kidding. We ain't going to do that.
No.
Comment like Metro said. Comment below who was way too high, who was way too low on either of our lists. Put it down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video or found this valuable, please drop a like. It helps us out a bunch. We're a new channel. Thank you very much. And if you love the NFL and college football and the NFL draft, we're going to be here twice a week, Monday and Thursday. Is that correct, Metro?
Yep.
Twice a week, bringing you awesome content. Please subscribe down below if you enjoy this kind of stuff because it will help us out a bunch as we're a new channel. Thank you very much. Guys, it's been real. Thank you for watching today. We appreciate you more than you know. Have the best day. Metro, say bye to the people.
Thank you guys for watching, and peace.